Vintage Cube Draft Strategy Episode 3, and today I'm going to discuss Monogreen. Why should you draft Monogreen, and is it still possible to have a competitive deck? And yes, I think so. I think there are two good reasons to draft Monogreen. The first one is that the deck is almost always open, and the second one is that the cards you want, a lot of other people in the draft's not going to want, like discard Natural Order. There's also Creator of Behemoth, which I'm going to get to soon. And so how do you draft Monogreen? And for me, there are three good reasons to be in Monogreen. And these are Rofellos, green for a 2-1, taps to add green for each forest you control. If your opponent doesn't kill it, you can often get up to 6 mana on turn 3, and then it's almost trivial to win as long as you have anything. There's Natural Order, which is also another way to cheat on mana, and it's a tutor. And oftentimes you get Creator of Behemoth. You can also get like Woodfall Primus. And the third one is Gaia's Cradle, a card that works almost like Rofellos in that as long as you got any board presence, you can often cast like a 6-drop on turn 3. And what should you think about when drafting Monogreen? Well, there are two things you want, and that is mana and payoffs. I'm going to talk a little bit later about why I don't like in the middle of the road stuff like Questing Beast and Elder Gargaroth. But you want mana dorks, like Llanowar Elves is like the placeholder. There are also 2 mana versions like Devoted Druid, Wall of Rouge, and of course Rofellos is the GOAT. I don't like 3 mana versions if they are in the cube like Circle of Dreams Druid, because they are coming down a little too late to have that big of an impact. So you want mana dorks to get ahead, and then you want payoffs, and you want like Creator of Behemoths, expensive stuff that win you game. You don't want in the middle of the road stuff like Questing Beast, because it's almost like it's in the middle and it doesn't do that much. It doesn't work that well with your mana dorks at beating down, and it doesn't give you any huge payoff. So your opponent can often type ignore Questing Beast for a couple of turns and then deal with it. Whereas a card like Creator of Behemoth just wins the game on the spot, and like Woodfall Primus does as well. So you want mana dorks and you want big payoffs that do massive things. You don't want in the middle of the road stuff like Questing Beast. Another card I don't like is Deep Forest Hermit, because it's also a card your opponent can just ignore or chump block and then move on with the game. So how about splashing? And I don't usually like playing too much of other colors, but I do like to have some card that are single of a color, like Escape to the Right. As long as I got like a Birds of Paradise that taps for the required color, throw in a Taiga or like a Stomping Ground with a fetch land. As long as a card contributes to your game plan, I like it. I don't like splashing remove. I like Swords to Plowshares, because you can often in Monogreen just ignore your opponent's creatures and just go for a big game plan. So you don't need like Maelstrom Pulse, Swords to Plowshares, and cards like that. A card I've not liked too much anymore is Opposition. I just find that double blue is very hard. It's okay to have a single color, but you often have cards like Llanowar Elves, Wall of Roots, and nowadays even Ignoble Hierarch that doesn't tap for blue. And then it can be a huge liability to have this card that is very good when you get it into play, but also your opponent can sometimes just kill your creatures and then it doesn't do anything. So I usually don't like Opposition these days. It's a little too hard to cast. Now, sideboard, you do have some awesome sideboard cards in green. You have like Scavenging Ooze, a card that I think is a little too middle of the road to play in your main deck, but it's an awesome sideboard card, especially if you got like Green Sun Zenith to fetch it up. Because it's both good against Reanimator and it's pretty dang good against Mono Red too. You are gaining some life, gaining a huge creature. And as long as you can sneak it in under a removal spell, you can also stonewall your opponent's creatures. And I do love me to have a Strip Mine in this deck, and the reason is that green is great at getting lands out of the library or the top of the library or of the graveyard. So you have like Ramunap Excavator that can recurse Strip Mine. You have Oracle of Muldaya and Courser of Crufix to dig for lands. You can even throw in a crop rotation. So strip mine is a super high pick for this kind of deck, just because it can, what you can do is you can start strip mining your opponent while you have mana dorks that still makes your game plan. So it can feel like you're strangleholding your opponent, because you have so much advantage in mana that taking a turn off to make set both players back one land can almost feel like a time walk. So Stripman is a super high pick for this deck. So in summary, I do like Monogreen still. I think the biggest reason is it's often open, you're the only one who wants the cards, and the way you draft the deck is very straightforward. You don't have to make too many hard decisions, it's pretty easy. And take mana dorks and high expensive payoffs that win you the game, not in the middle of the road stuff. That way I think you're gonna have success with Monogreen. So take cards like Craterhoof Behemoth, Woodfall Primus, Titan of Industry, and avoid cards like Questing Beast, Deep Forest Hermit, Tarmogoyf. I don't even like Sentinel of the new 3/4 for free. I think it's a little too mid-rangey. I would try to avoid cards like that. I'd much rather have a card like Sylvan Library, because Sylvan Library can help you dig towards more stuff. If your opponent's playing like a control deck that has a sweeper, you can start drawing a lot of extra cards with Sylvan Library. So I much rather prefer something that digs me rather than something that just beats down. So I still is a believer in Monogreen in the cube, and I hope this video gave you some tips on how to do it.